Hello, thanks for tuning into the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Joker Rogers at Channels Television here in Lagos, and I'm joined by Vincent McCurry from the Voice of America in Washington, D.C.
Thanks, I'm Vincent McCurry at the Voice of America. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Joker Rogers in Lagos brings you that story.
The government of Yobe State in northeast Nigeria, under its World Bank program, Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment, Agile, is set to build 50 junior and senior secondary schools in its quest to reduce out-of-school children. The program, which is to last for 5 years, is geared towards increasing the school's enrollment of girls beyond junior secondary schools.
The Yobe State Program Adolescent Girls Initiative for Learning and Empowerment is visiting the 14 emirate councils of the state to seek support towards increasing school enrollment of the girl child. The first port of call is the Emir of Fikar and Chairman Council of Chiefs, followed by the Emir of Tikau Abubakar Muhammadu Ibn Grema, the Emir of Damaturu Shehu Ashimi II Ibn El-Kanemi, and the Emir of Gujba Emirate Council, Memuktar Ibn Ali Gangarang. A total of 50 girls' secondary schools are to be built and 255 to be rehabilitated within 5 years.
Our scope is all the schools in Yobe State, and we will make sure the schools are conducive in terms of the infrastructure, and we provided the necessary learning materials. And for us to provide all these infrastructures, it will have been a waste if we don't have enrollment, which is why we now have to get the support of everybody concerned, the major stakeholders, to see that even after the building of the infrastructures, parents are sending their kids and then have the commitment to see that their girls complete secondary education.
The royal fathers pledged to support the project so as to reduce the number of girls roaming the streets, hawking for a living.
We don't have any fear in mind, and I've assured the project coordinator and his team that the Emirate Council will support in all aspects to see that he excel in his responsibility.
We know the gap. The gap is huge, and definitely with their intervention, we know that definitely we will.
With the advocacy visit to the Emirate Councils, residents are optimistic that the team will help in increasing school enrollment of girls in the state that has a high number of out-of-school children.
Joining us to discuss the Adolescent Girls Initiative in Yobe State is the project coordinator, Mr. Abdullahi Bula. Great to have you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
So the plans are in place to build 50 girls' schools and renovate 225 existing ones in Yobe State. Do you think lack of access to classrooms is the major reason for out-of-school children, especially girls?
Well, lack of access to school may not be the only reason, but it's one of the reasons, which is why we are not only doing that, we are also doing others. That is, in terms of the intervention, we are also going into other activities that we hope will fill the gap to provide enough space for girls to come to school. There may be other factors, which may be the economic factor, which is why we are also supporting in terms of conditional cash transfer to especially those who are in primary 6, who will be proceeding to JS1, because that is also a point where sometimes girls do not continue their education due to financial constraint. And likewise, those who are in JS3, who are to proceed to SS1, we are also given some cash component support to fill the gap of the economic hardship that may deny some parents to send their girls to school. But essentially, having the schools or providing the infrastructure is very necessary and is one of the most important things to be done, because you find out that children who are willing to continue with their education, or parents who are willing to send their kids to continue with education, especially the girls, I will find it difficult to send them to boarding school after some incidences of kidnapping, especially that of Chibok girls. And even here in Yobe State, it happens in the Chi. Find out that some parents are reluctant in sending their girls to boarding school, which is why when you have enough girls' day secondary school, you find the number can surge, or a lot of parents will be willing to send their kids or their girls to government girls' junior secondary school.
How far-reaching has your campaign been in convincing parents to, allow their children to get back to school for those who are not in school yet?
Yeah, that's why we have to expand the approach, the contact, the engagement. We are going around the traditional institution, that is the Emirate Councils, and we are sure the Emirate Council has a very strong goodwill from the community, especially when the emirs talk, people listen. I think that is the institution standing on its own feet in the community, that whenever the emir talk, the community members respect, because that is a respected institution. And we are not only engaging the traditional institution, but we are also engaging civil society organizations so that they also play their role. And likewise, we are engaging with ILWA, which is High-Level Women Advocacy Group, of women of caliber, women of example for others. And we are also engaging the religious institutions. They also have a role to play. So we are doing a multifaceted stakeholder engagements to see that not only we, but all others see reason in also participating to convince parents that they send their kids to school, and then they sustain their being in school, that is enrollment, retention, and up to completion of at least secondary school for our girls.
And, when the federal government, was inaugurated last year, it said that, there's some painful decisions that must be made to improve the nation's economy, which is what people are going through now, what they term the harsh economic environment, removal of fuel subsidy, and now more recently, the pump price of fuel has gone up. People were feeling the pinch before, but now they're feeling it more than ever. And so you see people in various communities, not just in the north, but across the country, where children may not necessarily be going to school anymore, and they begin to hawk. And we see that a lot as well in the north where you are based. So what's being done to ensure that, some sort of succor is provided to the families of these children, especially girls, to ensure that they're taken off the streets, not as street children, but as hawkers, people who help to provide for the family, and that they get back to the classrooms?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we are trying to locate the schools closer to the community members so that we reduce the distance that they will take to go to school, because that is very important. And when the school is close by and closer to the community where they're living, that reduces the cost of transportation to where most people will have to pay before going to school. And we have also incentivized going to the school by having a life skill package of training or teaching the girls on some life skills and economic empowerment components that will provide for them a way of how they can sustain their lives even beyond school. So we're giving them some skills, and when we are doing some advocacy to the parents, to the community, we are trying to also inform them that the package of the Agile also contains some skills for the girls, so that they can be self-reliant, and that is an economic empowerment for them. And this is something that they may have to pay somewhere to learn the skills and get what they would survive on, but it is now being given to them free in school, in addition to their literacy, numeracy, and the digital skill they are also to acquire. So it's a package that is so attractive, and as long as we package it well and then inform the parents the way they're supposed to know what it entails in having.
And what's Agile's target number for enrolling, the girl child into school in Yobe State?
You mean the target?
The target number of, the enrollment target number.
Okay. We are targeting a good number. We target to have about 100,000 over the period of 2 years, if that could be achieved, although we are so hopeful. Looking at the number of out-of-school children we are having, if we can have a number around, it's just a forecast, and it's just a wish that we feel we can achieve or actualize in the next 2 years, to have 100,000 enrolled back to school.
Right, Project Coordinator, Agile Yobe State, Abdullahi Bula, thank you for your time today on Africa 54.
Thank you.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. After the break, activists deal with the reality of unsafe abortions in Kenya, where many women and girls opt for dangerous abortions due to the fear of facing stigma within their communities. Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent Makori in Washington. Abortion is restricted in Kenya, but in Kilifi County on the southern coast, many women and girls with unplanned pregnancies say they have no choice but to undergo dangerous abortions without the intervention of a nurse or doctor. Local activists say the practice is contributing to high maternal mortality in the region. Reporter Halima Ngongo has this story.
Mercy Katana says she became pregnant when she was still in secondary school. She says her boyfriend refused to support her and her parents refused to accept her, so she had no other option except to undergo an abortion without the help of a medical expert.
I couldn't do it at home because I know my parents are strict. I traveled to Mombasa and didn't use anything from the hospital. Instead, I used the traditional method. I made a concoction of soda and local herbs. When I drank it, it caused bleeding. After a while, some discharge came out, but not everything came out. So I had to go to the hospital.
Health practitioners like Mwanakarama Athman Mohammed say Mercy is lucky. Not all women who perform unsafe abortion make it to the hospital.
And you get somebody, maybe the uterus has rotten, gets a condition called septicemia. Septicemia is a very severe state of the sepsis, and most of the time when it goes to the bloodstream, it has to go all through the body, even to the brain. Now we get mortality.
Abortion is illegal in Kenya unless the mother's health is in danger. But doctors estimate that nearly 500,000 abortions each year take place in Kenya, the majority of them unsafe. Leila Abdul Khair Isaac is the Chief Executive Officer at the Youth Voices in Action Initiative, a women's reproductive health advocacy group. She says there are too many stories like Katana's and says the group wants to help young women dealing with unplanned pregnancies to make better decisions.
Women and girls, most of them, they don't have information on reproductive health. We also provide information of the abortion complications, the post-abortal care, and the issues of the patient's rights, like their rights in terms of them to access reproductive health services.
The group trained skilled hair braider Emily Nasubo to talk to clients about reproductive health. She says the heartbreaking stories of women and girls going through painful abortions motivated her to support the initiative.
This program aids in educating and developing them intellectually. They learn self-awareness and self-care strategies. Even when they are in doubt, they come back for support and guidance.
In the past 6 months, Kilifi County Referral Hospital recorded at least 500 cases of post-abortion treatment. Kennedy Miriti coordinates the hospital's reproductive health program. He says the death rate among pregnant women in Kenya is very high.
We are also exploring on what are these causes of maternal mortalities that we have not identified that are causing all those mortalities out there. And definitely abortion is one of them.
Doctors estimate that roughly 7 women and girls die every day in Kenya due to unsafe abortion, and thousands more are hospitalized. Halima Gongo, VOA News, Kilifi County, Kenya.
Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has ended his visit to China, one which he says was very successful. He rated himself when he spoke with Nigerians in diaspora. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent, Amachi Ubani, reports.
A warm and colorful arrival to Beijing, China, And President Bola Tinubu kicked off his visit to the country with much expectation. Just like other presidential visits, he was expected to engage in a one-on-one discussion with Chinese President Xi Jinping, where both would table issues of mutual interests. He was also expected to sign new deals that will boost Nigeria's economic partnership with the country and leave Nigeria feeling richer as China's #1 partner in Africa.
Mr. President.
Discussions filtered to economic cooperation, and both witnessed the signing of mutual cooperation documents related to China's Belt and Road Initiative and other economic development projects. And what's a presidential visit to another country without a chit-chat with the Nigerian community, where he charges Nigerians in China to be good ambassadors?
What is uppermost in my mind is for you to represent Nigeria. Nigeria for development. Nigeria for good citizenship. You are one of us, and we have to encourage you to be good ambassadors, all of you.
As with all state visits, the achievements may only be noticed in the coming months. And with the president so confident already, we'll just have to wait and see. Amarachi Ubani, Channels Television News.
An engineer in Nigeria is aiming to create a new industry for his country with his unique Made in Nigeria car prototype. Emeka Gibson has this report from Abuja, narrated by Anthony Labruto.
Here in the heart of Jos, a city in the north-central region of Nigeria, Jerry Malo's dream of a Nigerian-made vehicle is coming to life. From sketch to prototype, from model to chassis, Malo's cars showcase his homegrown creativity and talent. After studying automotive engineering in London, Malo returned to his native Nigeria in 2017 to chase his boyhood dream of becoming a car manufacturer.
There's almost no vehicle components that we don't have the raw materials within Nigeria or within Africa.
Malo's latest model, the Sternum, is a sports car built to handle Africa's road and power infrastructure issues.
It's a vehicle designed for the African environment. At sport mode, you have just about 3 inches ground clearance, and with a press of a button from your dashboard, it switches to the off-road mode, where you have about 14 inches ground clearance. We also designed inbuilt the vehicles that it stores power that is capable of powering your house.
Nigeria's first domestically made car was the IVM 6490A, launched in 2014 by Innocent Vehicle Manufacturing. As an emerging economy, Nigeria's automotive industry relies heavily on imports. Homegrown brands are good for the entire country, says Abuja-based development economist Hawa Mustafa.
While jobs are being created, skills are also going to be upgraded. In fact, we are also going to have opportunities for new skills.
Automobile expert Joshua Samuel says a local auto industry can help other industries improve. For instance, revamping the huge but idle Ajokuta steel plant could boost the supply of raw materials to manufacturers like Malo.
If Ajokuta start working, just imagine, irons are wonderfully. You will get irons that you can just mold it to your own specification because it's your country. You see, when you have robust industries in the country, as automobile, what do I need an old car for?
But it's still early days for Malo and his cars. His project faces big challenges like limited research resources and funding. Malo launched the Benny Sternum in February 2024 and is still waiting for the funds to get the product to the market. But Malo and his team of 50 young innovators believe their journey is about more than just building cars. It's about creating a future where Nigeria's engineering capabilities can thrive and lead. For Gibson Emeka in Abuja, Anthony Labruto, VOA News.
Ivorian farmers are turning to a new rice variety for increased yields and profit. This variation includes better irrigation, mechanization, and improved short-cycle drought-resistant seeds.
Ivorian rice farmer Francois Kaseyao has struggled to make ends meet with only one harvest per year before he planted a new variety resistant to unpredictable weather conditions, capable of producing larger yields. The grain, introduced as part of a program designed to increase outputs of the regional staple food and cut dependence on imports, allows rice growers to get 2 harvests per year, with a yield of up to 5 metric tons per hectare.
Today, the yield is better with this new variety. Before, we had other varieties and we couldn't get by. But since we started with a new variety, we're doing just fine. We can get 4 or 5 tons per hectare. I can truly say that rice nourishes us today.
Before the introduction of the new program that includes better irrigation, mechanization, and improved short-cycle drought-resistant seeds, farmers struggled to produce 1 metric ton per hectare in some areas. Ivorian production of local white rice currently stands at 1.4 million metric tons, far below the national consumption of 2.1 million. But the Agency for the Development of Rice Sector, Adequayi, says the latest investment of 330 billion CFA francs, that's about $551.38 million, made by the state, its partners and the private sector will enable the country to be self-sufficient in 3 years.
In our projections for 2027, 3 years from now, we should be producing around 2.2 million tons of rice. But all this will depend on figures gathered by the National Statistics Institute, which will give us the level of consumption habits and the different varieties we consume.
To fully cover domestic demand, Côte d'Ivoire imports rice mainly from countries such as India, Thailand and Pakistan. A decision by India to curb its imports last year has raised shortage concerns in several African countries.
A California company is developing a material that can cool things by sending heat into deep space. Matt Dibble has our story in this week's edition of Logan.
They look like solar panels, but the system being installed on this department store roof will work quite differently. By sending heat into deep space, it will help cool the store below. The technology takes advantage of radiative cooling, a natural phenomenon that requires no additional energy input. In daytime, the sun's heat is mostly absorbed by objects on Earth and the atmosphere, but some heat in the infrared range still escapes, as if through a narrow window, to cold outer space. The film covering these panels is engineered to channel heat through that window, even on the hottest days.
It's focusing the infrared or thermal energy of an object and beaming it in this very specific wavelength to the upper atmosphere.
The panels contain a fluid, which the film chills to nearly 5 degrees Celsius, says the California firm SkyCool.
So it takes a relatively long loop, and the film is cooling that fluid as it travels.
The cold fluid is piped to the building's refrigeration system to give it an efficiency boost. The only energy this process uses powers a small pump to circulate the fluid.
SkyCool Systems saves a typical grocery store owner 15 to 20% of their refrigeration costs.
The cooling technology could have many applications. A project in India installed the film on vendor carts, lowering the ambient temperature below and helping to preserve fruit and vegetables longer. The company is also working on a roofing material for buildings in the developing world that lack air conditioning.
If you could cool those buildings without electricity, without water, and get them to a comfortable temperature inside, it has the potential to save lives, dramatically increase productivity around the world.
Taking advantage of the narrow window to cold outer space to cool a warming planet. Matt Dibble, VOA News, Roseville, California.
Well, that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Channels Television has our last word.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. To remember, channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I'm Joker Rogers. Thanks for watching and goodbye.
Bye.